All right, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to talk about supernatural or physical, I should say, applications of occult study. Okay. For new individuals into the occult, many do not master or even begin to master, I should say, the techniques required. Things like meditation, things like observing the basic respectful rituals of opening rites, such as the flushing of the mouth with, some form of alcohol or drink or whatever. And then you got the washing of the hands all before you begin your ritual. Others, they don't really take the time to do their own research or to inquire about certain things, especially after they've done their research and come up empty handed. But this individual that I'm about to speak on, he really did do his homework, and this is quite evident just from what he typed to me on my YouTube channel. So after reading what he had wrote, I contemplated on this, I meditated on it. I even hit my library and kind of touched up on the basis of paranormal and supernatural abilities. You know, supernatural occurrences, things that happen in a ritual room, the psychosis of it from a practitioner that has the ability to open up to the sensitivity of spirits, and a couple other topics I'm not going to get into because they're more advanced. But this is more of a beginner level. So I'm going to read to you what Nicholas said. He said, serious question from a beginner. Yesterday, I did my usual prayer and offerings, and I was relaxing when very suddenly my ritual dagger flipped sideways off of my altar, somehow getting past a candle holder without knocking it over or even touching it somehow, and a good distance behind a piece of furniture. It was not like it just fell; it had some force behind it. What does this mean, if anything, and what should I do? So you see where this kind of has a psychological effect, but also the appearance of a supernatural. The one thing I know for certain is not everything is a supernatural occurrence. I spent years trying to master certain things like, say, pyromancy or, say, hydromancy, some form of divination. Okay, and it's extremely frustrating to try to learn this. But I've also had my fair share of contact with spirits. Some of them are right up in your face. Others are visual within a airtight deprivation chamber. And then you literally hear voices. Okay. I'm talking those type of voices that are just behind your ear and you're the only one home. All you got is a cat. Okay. In my case, I have four cats now, but at the time I only had my Bella. Do you know how disturbing that is when suddenly a spirit, a demon, decides to speak to you? It's an honor, but it's also unnerving and rattling your cage on a very in-depth level, because when it happens, you're not prepared for it at all. Those who say you're prepared are lying to yourself. Okay? I will tell you that. They tell you books, anything you research will tell you don't look. Don't even acknowledge the spirit if their presence is known. What person in their right mind would not look to where that voice came from? Or suddenly see the shape of a spirit in the incense smoke? Perhaps a candle going nuts while the others are dead still. You see my point? This is supernatural in nature, not just not just. So I got my little male kitty over here. He's a kitten, and he's going nuts about something over here outside the window. Not sure what it is. Find it humorous. But my point is this, though, Nicholas, is not everything is apparent. Some things just happen. I had been meditating before where I'm facing the altar. My eyes are closed. I'm sitting Indian style in a chair. And next thing I know, when I emerge from that meditation, I'm facing west, not south, but west. I started out south and somehow I ended up over here in the west. Okay. These are things that will happen in your career as a Black Adept. Okay. These are things that will transpire that will either make you or break you. Okay. These are things that will make you or break you. And it's things that you'll either learn from or you don't. I've learned to listen to the spirits when they speak. I tend to pay attention to certain ailments that transpire within the ritual room. The fact that your athame moved on its own, that is quite possible, especially through the things that I've experienced firsthand in the inner sanctum. So, my advice to you is figure out why was it only that item, okay? That one ritual tool. I've never had a spirit attack my athame personally, but then again, I've also got three athames in a letter opener too. So I'm mentioning a wand that I keep on around my altar room. So there's I've never had a spirit attach itself or even move anything on my altar room table except for the candles and the incense. Arctic Sun, long time. So this is actually something new to me. I've never seen them physically move an object, such as an athame, and just fling it. We see things in Hollywood produced films such as Charmed, both the old and the new one, or that of, say, Witches of East End. You know, at least Witches of East End actually got the mythologies and the practices right. That's all I got to say about that one. And and then you got the Warlock movies, Julian Sands, for an example. A lot of that telepathic ability is what it comes down to. It's not, like I said, it could not just be a spirit, it could be you opening up and channeling your own energy. When you get into things like telepathic abilities, you're trying to tap into them. Sometimes on a subconscious level, you're not aware that you're the one doing it. Other times, it's quite apparent. I've seen people sitting across the room snuff out a candle. It's pretty cool, but it's frustrating when you're the one trying to do it, okay? And it doesn't happen. Why? Because you're not prepared for it. It may not even be your ability that you're meant to have. And that's some of the things that I find that a lot of newbies tend to not understand. They see something and they want to do it. You get on social media these days, same exact thing. Everybody's in that herd conformity, that one mind frame, but nobody's sitting there doing their research. Nobody's doing the practices. The fact that you're doing the practices, you're actually meditating, and you're actually trying to get in contact with these spirits. That's a good thing. Okay. So normally, when something falls off your altar room table, your first instinct is to try to catch it. I've knocked things over by accident, and trust me, it's a pain in the ass to clean up candle wax, especially from a tile floor. But I will tell you this little tip: hot water with mixed in with fingernail paint remover. Okay, it's oh, what do they call that? It's some kind of chemical that's in it. Starts with an R, and what it does is it removes the candle wax. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I've had things fall off the table. I've reached for them, tried to catch them, and yes, I've even stabbed myself with some of these items. It's not fun, but it happens. But I've also had my familiars get up there while I'm trying to do rituals and meditate, and they've knocked things over. So things like this do happen, okay? But I wanted to come under and kind of give you some pointers. And I'm even going to give you a source for you to get into, okay? Christopher Penziak has a book, and it's full of a lot of information, but he has a great understanding of the mind, okay? And it's called the Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft, okay? I highly recommend that because he actually has exercises in the book that will aid you. Think of it as breathing exercises, mental exercises, and this will actually help you improve your third eye while understanding your own mind. Okay? Now, could this have been a supernatural occurrence? It's possible. What should you do about it? That's only up to you. Was it a threat? If it was a threatening and hostile um, attack, then I would recommend an exorcism, a banishing rite of some sort. But if it wasn't, try to figure out which spirit it was. I would recommend looking into the spirits, trying to gain an insight. Perhaps it's your patron or patroness trying to get in contact with you. Perhaps it's a guardian that was sent to you. Maybe a spirit that's meant to guide you through your career, okay? As a black magician, a sorcerer, to be, a warlock, all right? But it does come down to the type of practice that you're practicing. If you're Wiccan and pagan, obviously you're not going to be working with demons. If you're into Middle Eastern mysticism, you're most likely working with the jinn. If you're into Hinduism, you're probably working with the Devi. Okay. If you're working with any given pantheon, you've got the gods of those pantheons. Okay, it would be like getting into the Necromyicon. Okay, you're going to be working with either the 50 names of Marduk, or you're going to be working with Tiamat. Okay, if you're into Zoroastrianism, you're going to be working with Orion, the dark god, or that of Ahura Mazda, the mad god. Okay, either way you look at it, you want to look at your pantheon and the type of magic that you're doing. Now, as a necromancer, I kind of shy away from the term Satanist because these days, because of the fact that I find that title to be corrupted by modern day society, but I also find it to be limiting. The old school forms of practice are Nikia, Nigromancy, and Necromancy as it's known today. Okay? El Necromante in Ruggieri. Okay? Now, the one thing I've learned about this is that when you get into your system, you said it yourself, you're a beginner. Okay? Don't rush into these rites and rituals. Pay attention to signs, symbols. You may even have heard something, you may have seen something, and it wasn't obviously apparent. Okay? I would recommend atoning. Okay? Apologize to the spirit. Okay? I would also recommend giving an offering. Okay? To say, hey, sorry, I didn't understand. I'm new to this. 9 times out of 10, depending on the spirit, they're understanding to this, especially if you're dealing with demons. But like I said, you said you're a beginner. You opened with prayers and offerings, which is good. That means you have a good sound state of mind when you get into the inner sanctum for proper rituals. Okay. But as for what you should do, I would look at the intent. Okay. Is this something that you want to get into? Is this something that you want around you? Okay. If you look into some of the old books like Richard Cavendish's The Black Arts, or the Doctor was it High Ritual and Doctrines by Eliphas Levi. I probably mispronounced that book, but it's by Eliphas Levi, and it's Doctrines of and Rituals of High Magic. Okay, about three-fourths of the way through the book, he actually tells his story when he got into black magic and necromancy. So it's when you get into spiritualism, there's two main things that are talked about: conjuration of spirits and reanimation. Reanimation of spirits is the guiding of spirits to a body or to their own body for divination purposes, whereas conjuration is manifesting a spirit. Okay, this is what the grimoire systems speak on. Okay, modern day witchcraft and their views are based off the church. Okay, which is more associated with Nikia, black magic these days. But when you're talking witchcraft, you're getting witchcraft, divination, necromancy, and possession. Okay. So these are the main views. I mean, E.A. Wedding even spoke on this. And I know this is a touchy subject because, you know, of what's been transpiring with BBC News, this moronic teenage kid that killed two women over in England. And, you know, and because the kid frequented a couple websites within the weeks prior to it, that kind of tells me that the kid was an amateur. had no idea what the hell he was doing. He was disturbed, the whole kit and caboodle. So, there's a little, a lot going on with Bog at the moment. But the point is that he did a video based off the 5 levels of possession. And this is actually associated with demonology, necromancy. He didn't have, as far as I could tell throughout the entire video, he didn't do a very good job connecting the dots. Okay, he just basically explained what each step was. But what I want to say about this is that when you get into working with spirits, pick the spirit that you want to work with or that you are attracted to. Okay, I'm not talking the modern day, illusion of, oh, I'm attracted to this spirit, so I'm going to hook up with this spirit. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these practitioners on social media think it's about having sex with demons. No. First of all, what makes you think a demon wants to have relations with you? It's more about a give and take. The very definition of demon means guardian. Okay. So when you think of a guardian, what is a guardian but somebody who watches over you, protects you, guides you, like a muse? Okay. So when you get into this, petition the spirit to come forth. Doesn't have to manifest physically. They can let you know in a number of different ways. Hey, I'm here. They can show you images. For me, I always see designs. Things like symbols, symbology, numerology, astrology even. I can't tell you how many times I've seen those just over the last few months alone. And I'm talking 32 years worth of practice. For the last few months, it's been a lot of it. You want to take your time. You want to gain a firm foundation, not just the understanding of what you're getting into, but it's up to you to decide for yourself, to discern for yourself. Do I want to keep these spirits around? Okay. Is this a hostile attack? Is it a spirit trying to commune with me? Or is it my natural abilities coming through on a subconscious level? There's so many different methods that, or I should say, topics that I could cover here just for you alone. Okay. This is something that you have to discern for yourself because it does come down to you. You may not, like I said, you may not even be aware that it was you. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a spirit. But like I said, they have a lot of different ways that they can commune with you. This is why you take your time, you become aware of your surroundings, you pay attention to the sensitivity of the spirit, the currents around you. In that aspect, I would also recommend Christopher Penziak's second book to you, The Temple of Inner Witchcraft, because this actually deals with psychic aspects and how to unlock them. And like I said, he has a lot of information in these books. I'm talking 500 plus pages. What I would recommend for you, you can read the whole thing, both books if you wish. That's up to you. But if it was me, I would just utilize the exercises. Okay, they work. Okay, I spent many years going from religion to religion, philosophical practices. Okay, I've practiced many different techniques in meditation, in understanding the current flow, the ebb and flow within myself, within myself, but also outside of myself. I recommend that you do the same because it will help you in the long run to identify currents, especially spiritual energies that come into contact with you. I've had people walking through the stores that I've worked at, the restaurants, and all of a sudden they're like, whoa, it's like somebody just walked over their grave because they walked into a cold spot. This is what is known as a portal. Okay. And yes, I have been known to open portals at places I work. It also helps me stay in contact with the spirits that I work with. And other supernatural ability, things tend to come into play, like birds slamming into the window as soon as you walk through the door. All of a sudden they'll notice, something's breathing on the other side of the glass. Black dog, always fun. I recommend having one or a few. You can petition Hecate for that, goddess of witchcraft. You can also go into demonics. Certain demons can actually grant you that privilege of owning them, especially when you've earned it. These are supernatural occurrences that will happen. I found dead birds next to my personal car. I've had a couple hundred birds down the street here, to the point where the owner was so freaked out they took out a no trespassing clause because it freaked them out. Why? Because when I showed up, all of a sudden all these birds, these blackbirds, just showed up, and I looked right at the girl and I said, "Hey, they'll be gone as soon as I leave." Not a few minutes after I left, all these birds just disappeared. This is stuff that you will attract. But like I said, you got to learn to identify the currents. Blackbirds, ravens, serpents. These are animal guides. I recommend you look into them because this will help you. I would also recommend looking into phylacteries, things like amulets and talismans, totems. Okay. These things here will help you to channel the energies. One's meant for carrying and protection, the other's meant for guarding. Okay. Hanging. Totems are for channeling energies. Look into them. Okay. These are some other things for you to look into. If you are definitely into spiritualism and you want to get into conjuring spirits and actually working with spirits, check out necromancy, nigromancy, and Nikia. I would also recommend the various different houses, like the Nganga in Central and South America, Central America, and North America. The Nganga in Africa is actually a person, a practitioner, but things change as it went into the New World. So these are things for you to get into and to look into. But I would also recommend a spirit box, maybe a spirit bottle, even. You want to look into certain applications that will benefit you as a practitioner. Okay. These things here will help you to not only guard yourself, but to bring things with you. I would also recommend some form of griscus bag. I have a griscus bag that I bring. In some religions known as a mojo bag. Okay, and it's interesting to see because you have old coins. You can put bones in there, like chicken bones. You can put certain things like cornelia, maybe jade. The bloodstone, something that connects you to your altar. I would recommend an altar coin. Now, if you don't have an altar coin, you could always make one. They're not that hard to make. All you have to do is get a silver coin. You know, you can heat it up to the point where it's kind of melted. You do have to be careful because it's made of zinc, If it's made of zinc, which most metals are these days, especially currency, then you really want to be careful with the heat. I recommend just keeping it at a warm level. Don't go any higher because you don't want that to go poof. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very fun, especially if you have a kiln. But if you're in an apartment or your home and you live in the city, don't do it. It's a good way for an eviction. Okay. But yeah, these are some of the things that I would recommend. It doesn't just keep you associated with your altar and your sacred space, but it will also help you stay in contact with the spirits. It's another way for the spirits to stay in contact with you and to walk with you. So these are good things to go with you. Um, to answer Gabriel Fisher's question, and yes, I did notice that a little bit ago when you posted it. Um, Sigils are good too. Depending on what you're willing to do and how you're willing to do it, you can either put them into tattoos. You can fold them up, keep them in your wallet. You can even utilize them in your ritual space. You know, it's up to you. But yeah, they are sigils are seals, sigils. They're all good. I mean, that's why there's offensive and defensive magics. I would look into what was it? I want to say Jason Miller. I think. I think it's Jason Miller. It's been so long since I've read that book, but it's called Protection and Reversal Magic. It may even be by Jason Augustus Newcomb. Very, very good book. This person, this author practitioner actually worked with Hecate, Hecatean magic, called on the Gorgons, called on the Furies and the Fates. The seal, the witch's, the wheel, very, very powerful. I have actually recommended it to a few of my clients, and it works well. So, but yeah, these are some of the things that I would recommend to you, Nicholas. Um, there are things that you can do when you get more advanced, and you'll realize this when time goes on, and you become more adept at what you're doing, more knowledgeable. You're maturing within your practice. You'll find that not everything's going to work for you. You've got to find what works for you and you alone. The left hand path, such as Satanism, is a path of solitary practices, just like witchcraft. Can you belong to a coven? Yeah, your magics will be more potent, especially if you're doing it in unison with each other. Okay, but as a solitary practitioner, you really want to look at yourself. You want to look at what you're doing. You want to look at the energies and becoming acquainted with them. There's an old expression, master thyself to master the world. Okay? Those are what I would recommend to you personally. Okay? But it is up to you on what you want to do. You ask for advice, this is what I would recommend. But but is it supernatural? That's a question only you can ask. By the sounds, I'd say it was you. You inadvertently tapped into yourself and you activated that telepathic. But like I said, learn yourself first. Everything else will come second. But take your time. All right? If you have any further questions, Nicholas, feel free to reach out. All right? And before I go, Arctic Zun. To answer your question, I've already done a video on YouTube on possession. You can look that up yourself. Okay? I went into full detail from various different perspectives. All right. And for that, I want to thank Gabriel Fisher for jumping on here, and Arctic Zon. Thanks for jumping on here with me. And I hope this has helped you out a lot, Nicholas. I hope it's helped you out a lot. I hope you're inspired to do some of these things. So, but like I said, it's your choice. And until next time, have a good day.